Mistress of All Evil, A Tale of the Dark Fairy by Serena Valentino. Copyright 2009, Disney Enterprises Incorporated, published by Disney Press. Chapter 21. Fairy Exams. Everyone was assembled for the exam in the main garden, which happened to be one of Nanny's favorite places in the fairylands. The fountain statue was fashioned in the image of Nanny's old friend, King Oberon, a large, imposing tree with a kind and wise face. Water cascaded from the statue's full branches, replicating rain. Nanny looked at her daughter with pride as she stood beneath the towering statue, waiting for her exam to start. She looked majestic in her new robes. Maleficent had covered her horns with silver ribbons Nanny had given her, which matched the embroidered silver crows on her gown. Nanny thought Maleficent looked almost grown up. It made Nanny's heart swell with pride to see what a lovely and intelligent young woman her daughter had become. She'd never imagined Maleficent would want to take the fairy exams. Even if her sister didn't pick Maleficent for wish-granting, at least Maleficent was brave enough to take the exams with the other students after everything they had put her through when she was younger. Merryweather was bossing around Fauna and Flora, as she often did. She was instructing them on the importance of all three passing together as they waited for the exam to start. "Oh, Maleficent, what are you doing here?" Merryweather said, her nose wrinkled up as if she'd smelled something putrid. "I'm here to take the exams, of course," Maleficent said, pretending Merryweather and the fairies at her side weren't making ugly faces at her. Maleficent looked around, wondering why the rest of the class was standing off to the side. Flora followed Maleficent's gaze. "Oh, they aren't taking the exams. They're just here to watch us." Maleficent frowned. "Why?" "Because they know they don't have a chance with us taking the exams this year," Merryweather said as Flora and Fauna giggled. Maleficent shook her head. It seemed time had not changed the three. They were the same haughty, arrogant fools they'd always been. "Even if they aren't given wish-granting privileges, surely they'll want their certificates for completing the course," Maleficent said. "What good is a certificate if you can't perform the most honored of fairy duties?" Flora said, making all three fairies laugh. Just then the fairy godmother cleared her throat to get everyone's attention. She was standing in front of the fountain to address the group. She wore her customary blue robes and large pink bow. Behind her were lovely cherry blossom trees, their petals softly falling around her and the students. "I stand here in the shadow of the Great One, Oberon, King of the Fairies. He was our great benefactor and protector for many years, until he saw fit to drift off into obscurity, leaving my sister and me the burden and privilege of continuing fairy education." Maleficent scoffed inwardly. Oberon had actually left the honor to Nanny alone, but she decided to share it with her sister. "And it is my privilege to once again pick the three students who will venture off into our many kingdoms to spread fairy magic to help their charges, young women and men in need of our special brand of magic. When I was a young fairy, waiting to take my exams, my heart fluttered at the thought of holding a young person's dreams in my hands. It is a great responsibility and an honor that must not be taken lightly. Only the best of us are granted this status, those of us who are truly good and good of heart." Maleficent felt a pain in her stomach as the fairy godmother said these last words. Good of heart. Of course, there are other very honorable, important vocations for fairies who aren't granted status. You will all use what you have learned here from your instructions at this prestigious and venerable academy, wherever your paths take you." The fairy godmother paused, smiling at all her students. "And with that, we shall begin our exams. Each of you will be given a young charge who needs your help. He or she will present you with his or her problem, and it will be your job to figure out the best way to help. You must choose the kind of magic best suited for his or her needs. Remember, even though this is only an exercise and the young men and women stand in for your charges are only here for the purpose of the exams, your magic is still binding. So please, do use caution, and whatever you do, please refrain from using harmful magic." The fairy godmother looked right at Maleficent when she said, "harmful magic." She may as well have punctuated the sentence with Maleficent. Nanny and the fairy godmother created a series of paths, each spinning out in different directions. Fauna and Flora grimaced at the idea of having to take their paths alone, without their friend Merryweather to help them. "Fairy godmother, Can't we do the exams together? Flora asked. The three of us, Fauna, Merryweather, and I? The fairy godmother thought about it for a moment. It's not the custom by any means, but I don't see the harm. Nanny objected. If Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather take the exam together, then they should be counted as one fairy. Should they perform highest in the class, their wish-granting status should be granted to them as a group. Therefore, 2 other fairies should be selected as well. Well, I'm not sure, the fairy godmother's voice trailed off. But a demure, golden-haired fairy dressed in sparkling blue spoke up. I would like to take the exams, then, the fairy said softly. Maleficent smiled at the fairy in blue. Then you should. Come stand by me. She looked at the other students who had just been there to watch. Everyone who wants to take the exams should. Don't let those fools intimidate you. Slowly, many of the other fairies stepped forward. Merryweather, Fauna, and Flora looked around, nervously at the large group that had decided to compete against them, watching the fairies. Maleficent had to laugh. What are you laughing at? Snipped Flora. Shh! Flora, don't speak to that creature. She won't be laughing when she fails the exams, said Fauna. Maleficent ignored her, but the blue fairy shot Fauna a nasty look. Fauna, leave her alone. She took Maleficent by the hand and led her away from the trio. Don't worry about them, Maleficent. They're just nervous you will do better than them. I hope you know not all of us hated you, the fairy continued. Maleficent smiled and squeezed the blue fairy's hand as the two watched the fairy godmother and Nanny create additional paths for the students to follow. Finally, the fairy godmother commenced the exams. Choose which path speaks to your soul, she advised. You will only have your wits and magic to guide you. Good luck, my dears. Now, begin! Thank you so much for listening. Remember, like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell to keep up to date on all the new magic. Have a magical day.